Okay, let's get this started. My volume up. I'm trying to figure out the balance because on OBS I'm jumping up into the red in the peaking, and then it sounds pretty quiet from my perspective. But it is what it is. I cannot do much. Got to find the time to switch out things. Okay, so ads are running. Getting the stream started. Get those pesky ads away. Hope you're well today online. Dear. So today is going to be a productive day. I can feel it. So I have been doing a little bit of work, only less than 2 hours total work extra. So essentially, we've now got our totals. Well, no, not essentially, we do. So we're now showing the estimations on these tasks and the total estimation of this requirement as a thing. As it pertains to the overall planning item, I'm not sure I want to necessarily show that right now. I think that's going to be a discussion point. I'm needing some attitude adjustments before the stream starts. I got the quote, and a new wave of anxiety and frustration at feeling like I'm being taken advantage of. Yeah. Um, I I I I feel you. I don't like having people in the house. I've refused roofers already because they're like, "Oh, we need to come in the house." I'm like, "No, you don't. We need to go up and see what the roof looks on the other side. Otherwise, we can't guarantee it." No, you don't. um, I dislike dealing with companies. We have some windows that need replacing, and the company that originally put the windows in comes around and says, "Oh, we see that the windows are busted." I'm like, "Really? Because you put them in? Oh, well, you should get them warranted." Yeah. So I totally get your anxiety and frustration over it all. Um, but yeah, as much as it's uncomfortable, I would definitely find another company. Um, I yeah, I'm exactly the same as you. I really felt it yesterday. Um, it's just not fun. Um, I've come to distrust so many contractors from dealing with things. Um, yeah, it is not easy. Um, yeah, I would definitely, as uncomfortable as it is, I would definitely find another company that you can get a recommendation from someone, or you can find actual reviews of that don't feel like you know they've been hyped up, and see if you can get a second opinion. But yep. Um, I will say that one thing I have done over the years of dealing with being like that is I have learned to just relax and let things go a lot more, um, because all the anxiety and the frustration doesn't do me any good, and I can't really do very much about it. Right, like at 5 o'clock in the morning, you know, you're not doing yourself any good starting your day off with that level of anxiety when you can't change it. You put a plan in place, set down some tasks, and execute on the task when you can execute on the task, and everything in between. You've got to But I've worked very hard to try and make sure I can do that, where I can just let things go and relax. Okay. I tried to look for one over the weekend. I really do flow much better than I used to. But internally, it's still that low wired buzz that is a bit distracting. Yeah. Yes. COVID facilitated us becoming more reclusive as such. Like we do stay in the house a lot. We do have food delivered. We do that way. COVID really facilitated that and just got things. Oh, we can do this all the time. Let's do this. We have to deal with fewer people. It's fine. We haven't really broken out of that yet, and we don't have a big friend. We don't have a friend circle, so it's easier to do as well. But yeah. Anyway, so yeah, we have the point totals. So what I've done is I've added onto the estimation. Yeah. Well, that's the thing, right? It's more accepting. So on the requirements, we now have a estimate column. I've dropped some of the other columns off of here. We got the integration components working, so now this is being captured over here. So the that knee's not doing well today. So the tasks now capture the estimate. He says the estimate now is captured in here. So that's being pulled down. And yeah, so now we're able to show the totals, etc. This again, this was at most another couple of hours of work, so this would have been done in this stream. I just figured it was worthwhile going ahead and doing that. So the next piece, the final piece to this actual effort is to show those estimation or those estimates in here. Well, that's weird. That's not showing properly. Where are you? Did you not actually save? See, I say that. And then I'm like, why is that broken? "34 minutes ago. So we should have a task. Ooh. We have a bug. So this is one of those downsides to having a distributed system or to having a eventually consistent system, right? So what I'm seeing here is the task is not being published, right? So this task got published fine, this update requirement panel to show total estimation. It got updated. It even got an associated sprint. So why did that not take? So if I refresh again, does that task come back? It does. So if I go, but they're not there. So if I go to the tasks component and I look at the tasks, yeah, they're all associated with a sprint, but they did not publish. That is worrying. And that would be that 2025 04 10. See, we published some messages and they all processed. Interesting. That doesn't look like that though, does it? Tasks does not have, unless there was several. Oh yeah, there you go. Those are those tasks publishing with the assigned sprint. So now when I change when I'm assigning, when I go back into the screen, right, and I show when I go in here, the reason that's not doing anything else is because it's not. So if I go and do assign the sprint and set the estimate to 2, say. Now save that. We should see the task update. We should see a message appear in here pretty quick. He says, there you go. Because that's changing. If it doesn't change, then there's no, it'll let me save, but it won't do anything on the server side. So that changed the pointing on that. So we are getting the messages coming out to Kafka. So did it break on the integration side? Let's have a look. So the assigned sprint is not being saved. So do we have an error on the view side? Debug. View. So we have services, consumers view. No, receivers view. Here you go. Iris, good morning. Hope you're well. So I made a classic error in this yesterday. So because I'm building such a large project, I do not want to spend the time creating specific commits for updating and validating and testing library updates, etc. But I do want to keep things up to date, right? Because it's important, especially up until the point of production release. Everything should be on the latest version so that we are not already deprecated the moment we go out. So what I do is I basically just do a commit with all the NuGet package upgrades. And the idea being that I'll put them in there. And yes, that could create a problem later on. In that I could find a bug, a month from now that's caused by a NuGet package I've updated now. But if it's there, I will find it, and the regular application performance will not be changed. So I went through this process yesterday, and I updated all the NuGet packages, and I was happy. And then I was looking through stuff yesterday, and I realized the changes were throwing an error again. And I'd forgotten that I'd actually reverted some NuGet packages. So for the exact reason I'd found a bug. So that leads me to, how do I track that? Well, the problem is the MongoDB library I'm using a MongoDB entity framework provider, so that from the code perspective, it all looks like entity frameworks. So if I was to switch it out for an entity framework database for changes or pipelines, etc., it would work fine. Luckily, on March 10th, they released the .NET 9, the .NET 9/EF Core 9 updated driver package in preview. So I was able to pull that in last night, but it almost bit me chasing that one. So I'm looking to see if there's any sorts of problems here, but there's not actually any problems. So, but we do have lag. No, we don't have lag. 3 minutes ago. Oh yeah, we do. Lag 5. Why do we lag? View integration. Yeah, tasks lag 5. Uh-oh. So that suggests that this receiver is breaking. So let's stop that running. Let's stop that running. So this is when Kafka gets a little bit harder than I'd like it to be. So the problem is we have a 5 message lag on Kafka on this receiver, right? So I'm reading that from going into the consumer groups. This is the view integration. These are all the topics I'm consuming from the view, and you can see lag 5 here. So basically these last 5 messages, 5, 41, 41, 41, 42. These messages, for whatever reason, are stuck. It could be an error in the code. It could be an error happening. Now, the problem is, because of the way these start up right now, when this starts, this just starts a bunch of tasks and runs them. The problem with tasks is when you start them asynchronously, if they error, they do not tell you. They do not crash anything, right? They don't show in the same way that a regular program will, because they swallow those errors. So you've got to do a little bit extra to try and capture them. Thought I had logging in, but we'll see. So let's go receivers view. So that's this project. Call them the receivers because, again, consumer is a general concept in this sort of stuff, and we have Kafka consumers and mass transit consumers, and I don't want to blur the lines. So, yeah. Okay, so we get the existing. Oh, unable to cast object of type decimal to system double. There we go. That is the problem. I have a configuration missing. Now, the beauty of that is that message is not broken, that message is not lost, so we are fine. So we need to do a task entity type configuration. So this is on the update context, not the view context. So I did it all over the view context. I did not do it on the update context itself, because this is a write context, right? Builder.property, P goes to P.estimate. Oh. Using system task equals view dot entities dot task. What I tend to do is do system task if I blur the lines a bit too much there, but has column type decimal 5.2. Doing that an awful lot of places. I'm not really confident that's going to work properly, but let's find out. That configuration will be loaded by default as well. Sorry for the fidgeting. The knee is a bit more difficult today. Okay, so let's run that and then hit F10. What? Unable to cast object of type system decimal to system double. That's exactly why I do that. Update repository, context, update DB context. Oh, we don't load the types. Okay. Protected, override, on model creating, model builder, apply configurations from assembly, type of, okay, that should change that behavior now. That lag should not be decreasing, by the way. It's failing, so it's never actually confirming that message was received. So, yeah. You can see the application, even though I'm stepping through and I'm getting the error, the application as a whole just stays up. It does not, this does not fail. It just, continues on. I didn't remove that breakpoint, did I? No, it's just taking its sweet time. Sometimes that takes a little while. So once this is done, we'll be capturing those sprints and capturing those tasks. We're going to work on a few bugs. There's a bug where it's not showing the requirement properly in the task. I don't know why. And come on. Invalid column name. I thought it said column type. Did I configure that wrong? Has that's column name. I don't have a column decimal 5.2. Not unsurprisingly. So, as always, if you have any questions, thoughts, opinions on what I'm doing, you're more than welcome to ask or share. Come on, we can do this. There we go. Okay. Will we finally get... No, come on. Oh, there we go. Okay, we're there. We are there. Okay, so we should have no lag. There we go. We should have in the table, we should have some sprints attached. That's a worrying one. Was that a late one? We'll figure that out in a second. Let's get this all up and running again. So we do full stack, run that, go in here, run that. No, I don't expect this to be perfect. I don't expect to solve all these problems. Like I'm not perfect. But the speed at which I can resolve an issue, the speed at which I can debug the code because I know where it is, the consistency of the design of the code does give me that confidence that I can go and sort things out quickly. I do believe there are some harder challenges coming soon. I do believe that there are some component, like once we get into more behavioral pieces, I think those are going to test the architecture and test the framework a bit more. And I'm really looking forward to some of those pieces. Rambly Geek, good afternoon. Just in time. So there's the last one. We need to set that one. Set the sprint, testing sprint flow, save that one. Go back here. Go back here. There's our tasks. Okay. Yeah. Always appreciated. Uh-oh. Oh, okay. So now we have our tasks. They're actually loading proper. So I think the problem was so what was happening, this wasn't always showing. So I'm still curious as to why that would work or not work, but it is seemingly corrected right this second. So we have one more thing to do. We have to put the estimate on there. And this is literally task estimate, I think. Let's see what that looks like. 2. There you go. 1. I think it probably doesn't live there. Probably have a little bit more edit detail. So we're going to have, I think we'll put it next to the title for right this second. Stoney, hello. Good morning. How are you doing? So let's do this. Let's put span star ng if equals item.estimate item.estimate 2. Okay. Class equals Px2 text XL font semi-bold text white. Okay. So what we're going to do is we have a component, a user label, right? This user label looks like this. So we're going to do something similar. Estimate label. We have an estimate label component, but that is, let's find out. Text. I'm good. Wasted half an hour flushing my coffee machine for a fake chart detection error that just goes away when you do the flush cycle. Hate those money milking practices. It was fake because I have really soft water here. The machine is only a few months old, so it's impossible. Get that on the machine. My machines are like, oh yeah, gonna cycle it. I'm good. I'm good. I'm making solid progress the last couple of days, which has felt good. So let's just use this estimate label, right? Let's put this in here. Let's remove this. This is the same estimate label. At estimate label estimate equals wow. Someone is banned from the channel. Okay. I didn't even see that. I just saw the screen movement in the corner of my eye. So this should include import that component, right? So that now should, yeah, just reload. So we show the sprint. Click on there. Ugh, okay. We've got a bit of work to do. Okay, so let's go back to here. Let's do text XL. Oh yeah, that's part of that. Let's do BG. Red border BG red, just to see what it looks like. Yep, there we go. Let's do BG green. Actually, let's do a gray. There you go. And then let's do span around that. Flex. I think that's going to break that. There you go. P4. Hey, X3, PY1. That will also affect this control as well. So that's going to have a direct impact over here. So, which is fine. I'm not sure I like that because this gives it a perfect circle, which is probably part of that flex. Um, let's do 400 there. No, 600. The style doesn't need to be perfect here because again, I'm trying to um, um, that looks a little healthier in terms of pointing. Um, the spacing I'll worry about in a second. I think that height's too long though. Oh man. Okay, I say that and it's driving me crazy, right? Um, the user label does work pretty well. Uh, I don't think the text XS is going to be good for this. It's going to be not says text bold, font bold. Yeah, I don't think that's as healthy as I want it to be. So that works that way. Does this work? I don't know how Tailwind is. See, that doesn't. Just need that circle. That's the problem. The spacing I'll deal with outside of the control. I think I'll deal with it that way. But yeah. So if you're just joining and you haven't seen this yet, so what I've done over the last couple of days is added the concept of estimation into the tasks themselves. So again, whereas in Jira you would point a story, what I want to provide is a planning item which has requirements. Those requirements can be tasked out. Those tasks have estimates on them, so that the overall requirement has a total estimate, but number of tasks. So the general guidance would be the requirement should be something that you know we get into this world of it's very difficult to align a story to an actual piece of work because sometimes there's more technical requirements than there is actual story to it. So in this case, a requirement could have many tasks, but the tasks are able to be broken down by the development team to align properly. So that's what this concept is, allowing the developers to, or the development teams, DevOps, QA, etc., to break down the actual tasks, align them to a requirement. So the QA might have tasks against each of the requirements, but they can test the overall item. I want to kind of break that tight linking between uh, the product and the actual work to be done, because it's not cut and dried, nice and clean. So, hence 3 and a 5, right? This is not uh, um, your regular Fibonacci sequence. So here, that 2, right? 2, and I'll probably display it on here as well in a second. I think it's probably right to display the estimate there as well. So I'll probably want to display the color again as well. EU strikes again. Language. Yeah. I keep the language clean in the stream, I'm afraid. EU strikes again. Once again, I'm happy to live in the EU. They just tighten the rules on the digital service act. In-game purchases with in-game money conversion is now tied to all rules of real currency. Yeah, it is. Yeah. There we go. Appreciate it, Stoney. I just don't. Um, I find that I am uh, more comfortable with just keeping things nice and chill, and so it's not a punishment against adulting, um, but it's just generally it just generally works for me. I do consider the stream um, a professional outlet. I do consider the stream like a representation of me in a professional environment. So I know that that's becoming more lax over time, right? But that doesn't mean, yeah. So I appreciate it. Um, Twitch is punishing me. I'm only allowed. I used 2 snoozes on my ads yesterday, and it's continued the count. So I only have 1 snooze remaining. Twitch, really? Like I only use it at the end of the stream when because it aligns with the uh, the stream end. What I'm thinking here is we basically do use the same control. Yeah, and so essentially, don't use that. Use a user label app. Like recreate this control as this is built for a user. That's the problem. It's built to do the what this is doing is built to take the name of the person and then do the split and join, so it will figure out things. Yeah, I know Twitch is strapped for cash, you know. Um, okay. So what do I want to do here? I'm kind of torn in how I want to do this. Let's do because it doesn't look good like that. It needs to be a circle, but the number kind of matters. Um, uh, board. No, that's not going to be that one. Let's do it over here. Um, if I enjoy the game and they treat me like a value game, if I just play in the game, I'm more than willing to spend some extra money on in-game items to customize my experience. I've so okay. Let's actually I was focused more on the swearing and less on the actual context of what you were saying, right? Um, as a person who loves games, right? I do love games. I have a large collection of physical games. dating back to the Atari 2600, right? I do have a large collection of video games. I love video games. I am slowing down on the collecting on the newer era because, I've got 110 PS5 games up there, but how many of those games will come off the shelf in 10 years and go into a PS5 without an update? Very few, right? So essentially that part of the collection, I have to play it soon. Otherwise, I'm not going to capture that window of being able to play it. We are moving to an era of online only. Nintendo, with the Switch 2 are proving that, right? So thank you for the follow, by the way. This world of digital currency is not going away. So I kind of tend to agree, like the treating it like it being real money and aligning those things to real money and being transparent about that. Oh, this is $4.99 rather than 500 coins that costs $20 because it's all hidden and obscured. I feel that's a good step in that world. I do not like purchasing digital content. It drives me crazy that my daughter has spent so much of the money she's earned doing chores and whatnot on buying digital garbage in Valorant. Oh look, it looks awesome. No one sees it. So it to me, yeah, I'm definitely the grumpy old man. Get off my lawn. In that respect, I don't like. Not to say I've never bought anything digitally, um, but in the same. Um, I, if I'm having fun with the game, I can kind of see it. If it's depending on the type of game, if it's like a puzzle game and paying money um, adds more puzzles, or it extends the life, um, then I'm okay. I remember Black Ops 2 and I bought almost all the DLC for it just because it provided me a lot of entertainment value. I mean, that's ultimately the goal, right? My value is not your value, right? Um, and the ultimate point there was the fact that preventing companies from obscuring the actual cost uh, behind fields is behind a virtual currency is the crux of what we were doing there. Okay, let's do this. Let's do that. Let's go in here. Let's do this. Color, BG, gray, 600. This isn't going to change anything, but hey ho. We're just making that control a little bit more manageable. In this case, yeah, I had an idea here for formatting as well. So that's why that's label and estimate are almost identical, except this estimate is a string. If label, shrink 0, font bold, height. This doesn't do very much. Width and height does not do anything because it's not going to shrink, but that would be because of that, right? Yeah. Now that flex breaks this because does it break in planning? No, it does not break in planning. It works fine there. So that's because of the control that it's in. So let's go and look at that one. What is that? That's not task detail. That's boards. That's planning. Components. Requirements. Task list. Item app playable, flex, align, flex one, gap. Ooh, there we go. Um, yeah, on the games front, I think I just need to, once my knees back up and running properly, I fully intend to start reorganizing this room and trying to build out some cabinetry so that I can set up my consoles. And then what we'll do is get some game streams going. Desperately want to do that. As much as I love doing this, I think my weekends have to be more gaming, less programming. Okay, so that works there. So I think this becomes a challenge. Or God, I'm not a fan of that behavior. Okay, so that's that. I'm happy with that one. What was this? This was tasks, boards, components, task detail, task detail. It's this piece assigned to, no, here we go. Flex. That's because, I just closed that down. Requirements list. PX4. Flex align gap to flex. I've got to get my head around more pieces in this world. Whether it be getting into CSS and actually figuring out somehow how to do actual CSS, or whether it be getting my head around Tailwind. If I'm going to be productive at this, it's going to have to change. Because this is the area I feel the most hacky at. I feel like I'm just kind of just making it work. Flex one. Flex. I don't think this is going to do what I want it to do. Full disclosure, I think this is going to be bad. Flex. The reload is not doing what I want it to do today. Yeah, so what happened there was it just became a column. Flex. Well, I've got flex with flex in flex. That doesn't make sense. Why is that not formatting either? That's driving me crazy. That's that. Flex one. Flex shrink 0. Flex shrink 0. Flex shrink 1. Oh, there we go. Gap 4. Okay. I'm pretty sure I've just created a bunch of tailwind that actually just contradicts each other, but it's fine. It's all fine. How do we feel about that? I mean, um, item center. There's a way of doing that. I can't remember what that is. Justify center, item center. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, well, I don't think that's doing what I want it to do, but wonder what happens if I take that out. Let's think. That's not required. Let's do that. Yeah. Flex item set. So the idea is there. So that should mean that goes out. Yeah, that goes out of whack. Okay. So that's justify between should put the padding in, and the item center is intended to make that line up with that, which that doesn't, and that's going to drive me crazy. But so that moves it into edit mode. You cannot. I don't want to be in the world where we edit the estimation, edit the estimate, not the estimation, edit the estimate once we've pulled it into a sprint. That is something as we use this. Yeah. Hey, Delta. The EU laws kind of have always skirted the, the nanny states, but some of them are there because Apex. Thank you very much for the lurk. Appreciate it. Yeah, the EU laws are generally trying to protect people because they've adapted quicker than most in their laws. Real cost to implementing the laws, but in the name of protecting people, I'm like, okay. Okay, let's get this estimate label. Estimate label supports behaves similar. Username label. Okay. Features. Display estimate on task. Detail backlog. In task list. It's like how, so for some reason, either I've got a setting somewhere or WebStorm does not clear out the message in between. Yeah. Okay, so the card, the task card, here we go. So one more, one more. Okay, here we go. Flex. Actually, flex none. Span class equals flex. Item center justify. Start. Gap 2. This is almost identical to how I want it in the estimate equals task. Estimate. What don't you like there? Oh, type number null undefined is not assignable to number undefined. It doesn't really matter. What don't you like there? Estimate, task. What is going wrong with this? This is not helping me out today. So, what am I doing wrong there? That'd be awesome if I could do that. No template. I've not got a template here though. Why do you not like that? I suppose it means it has to be there. That also works. It'll pass in. No, it won't. Let's just do that for right a second. Let's see what it looks like. What we're doing here, the cards. Okay, first time, nailed it. We're good. I probably want that color to be lighter there though. Color equals BG color, BG gray. Did I not set that up properly? Components, user label. No, I did not set that up to be changed, did I? I set that up to be defaulted. So that would be equal string equals input dot input string. That's that, and then that would be color there. Same here. Equals input string, just defaulting it, and then that would be color there. User label component is not used in, that's fine. And then color equals BG gray 200. So it's like, ooh, no. 400. 500. Orange. That looks a little better. Any opinions? Oof, no. Oof, no. There you go, 500. I like 500. We'll go with 500. Go back here. Let's assign this to a sprint. Make that a 3. Save that. That should then get through here somewhere. There you go. That's a 3 now. How are people feeling? Again, what I'm trying to do here is not necessarily come up with a final design. I'm trying to, if I was to show this someone, be able to show the concepts of those things in the places where I feel they should go. And then someone could say, okay, well, let's change this around. Let's change the colors, etc. Let's change the design. That's kind of what I'm aiming for. I want the ideas of what I'm trying to represent in here. So, but that's useful. Can move that there, that there. How do we feel about estimates? Are estimates doing the right thing? I think they are. I think that moves us forward. So if you are new to the stream, I am building a project management and planning application. Yeah, that's the JW part there. Assigned to, right? And it should hover. So yeah, if you're new to the stream, I'm developing a project management and planning tool with a pivot of the concept of stories and tasking. If you are interested in what I'm doing, you have any questions, thoughts, opinions, you're more than welcome to ask. I'm happy to talk about this stuff. So now we have the total points are showing here. We have the points showing here. And actually, let's see about that orange there. Let's see that orange work. Like on the task screen, I don't mind, but here it might actually be useful to have it the same color. And then you can, once you get used to the fact that's the points, then you're pretty much, you're good, right? Requirements task list. Yeah, I think that's consistent now. So the only other question is, do we want to estimate at this point, at the point of creation? I'm concerned in introducing it as a concept purely because I fear that it encourages a kind of rushed approach to tasking. I think tasks should be outlined and then thought about and considered before estimation. So the act of adding the estimation at that point does concern me a little bit. However, from a workflow perspective, it's right now it's going to be a little bit more painful because now to get that estimation, you're going to have to go out here, go to tasks, go into this screen and set your estimation, right? For each item, and this screen is not the most useful screen, right? We've got a lot more work to do in terms of teams, in terms of organization and filtering on this screen. There's a lot more to do here. This screen at least has some filtering concepts in here, so it you know, ready for planning. If I want to just work on the ones that are ready for planning, I can filter this down to the ones that I am ready to plan, right? So, and yeah. So if I need to focus on a specific initiative that's ready for planning, then I can go through and work through those things and add the tasks. That's kind of the goal there. So yeah. So, but basically what I'm saying is once this piece is in, this estimation piece is, I'm going to switch my focus. You know, today is the last stream of the week for Liquid Sky. So I'm going to switch my focus to deployment for a couple of days and try and get this building out and deploying. And once that's in place, we will put that version onto the test system and get you guys, or allow you guys, if you want to give it a try. Okay. I think we are okay with this right a second. Unless anyone has anything like workflows, usability, there's definitely some challenges. I get that. Those are the sorts of things I'll be focused on when I'm asking for feedback on the actual project. Do I change that? Do I just change it to a orange there as well? It will add to that consistency. Boards, components, task, detail, estimate label. Yeah, it does kind of work, doesn't it? You know that that's the pointing. Okay. I'll be honest, I did not expect to, even though I was confident that estimation would be a relatively simple concept to add into the system, I did not expect it to be complete complete in essentially 5 hours. Right? So the entire thing to add this field in, to add the flow into the database, etc., has taken about 5 hours. Now, again, I can't get too complacent there because I'm adding a field in. If something else comes along and it's like, oh, we need to add this field, it shouldn't just be, oh, well, it's a 3, right? Because we know exactly what we need to do, right? Or it's going to take me 5 hours, right? Again, the purpose of this being estimate rather than hours or points is so if you want to do it in hours, you can do it in hours. If you want to do it in the Fibonacci sequence, you can do it in the Fibonacci sequence. You can do it in half hours, etc. You can do it in 1.3, 1.23 hours. That's up to you as a user of the system right this second. So the goal is not to kind of force you down the path of using points. If you feel better estimating in hours, that's perfectly fine. Okay, so let's get these commits done. Provide customizable color on estimate and user labels with defaults. I'm not going to override that default gray color. I think that we're going to experiment ultimately. We might change it out, but I'll leave it in, set in every place right this second. Update, estimate field, on task card and to display estimate. Okay. So I'm going to say that feature is in a pretty good place. So these are the 5. This is the current version of the application. If you've not seen this before, this is me tracking, I started this sprint with the intention of having it be 6 days. And yeah, this has just basically become a Kanban board of just progress at this point. So all these things have gone into this deployment, right? This next release. I got a little sidetrack yesterday while watching a stream. I decided to do it myself, made a Twitch token generator and deployed it to Cloudflare. Nice. Twitch token generation is a pain in the backside. I get why. Um, um, yeah. I think one of the more popular sites, I think Twitch kind of, there's definitely been some issues around that. There was a site that used to be able to do that, and it's not as recommended anymore. But it is useful to be able to do that. So yeah, for developers.stream, we're going to have to put in some form of request to do the scope thing. Because the scopes, based upon what you choose as your subscriptions, I want to be able to say, okay, well, no, sorry, the bot, not the developers.stream. Developers.stream has one set of challenges. The bot has another set of challenges. So the bot code that I was writing, basically you subscribe to whatever events you want. The fact that you include those events as things you want to subscribe to will determine the scopes you're requesting, right? So that's going to be a challenge. But something like that where you can check all the boxes and then generate your token and then use that token is the normal practice. But I'm gonna put the auth piece in there. Developers.stream, that's not going to ask for permissions because developers.stream is just a yeah, that's just a confirmation that you are who you say you are for developers.stream. Okay. Did I make all changes? No. Context update. Okay, that's the column type on the task. Column type on task. Entity needs to be configured for update. Context. Commit and push. So this does contain a lot of things that are not estimate, but that's okay. So what I'm going to do, just going to go over here now. We're going to go to Project Liquid Sky. Let's make a pull request. Development. This is stupid. Going to add Rambling Geek and Mojo. I add them. I go through this process purely to get into the habit of adding reviewers. Rambling Geek and Mojo are assisting me with Liquid Sky, you know, in the background right this second. But the idea being that they can at least review this for a day or two before, have a look at this for a day or two before I actually merge it, because I have no immediate need to merge this. Estimate is a decimal field. To provide estimates should in view. So would actually let's have a go on. So one thing I don't keep an eye on right this second is the changes stuff, because I've yet to flex the changes. Yeah, you see, it's not updating changes. That's annoying. That's frustrating. Oh, because I don't track tasks. I've been working on tasks, not planning items. That's why. Although 2 days ago, 4 days ago, that's kind of broken. Again, the concept is very much the individual components do not calculate their own changes because the changes can't really have all the context they need while they're in the individual service. So the changes are uh, the changes system, which again will be something I focus a lot of energy on once I've got some time here, is to pick out the objects, figure out what changed, publish that, then the detail. So the published changes can go out and tell you something has changed, so we can alert on notifications, we can do all sorts of stuff there. And then the changes detail will enrich that and publish a version of that data that is, because this can take a while, right? Because it can resolve everything. But the idea that the changes detail would then attach context. So if you say, okay, the user changed from GUID A to GUID B, it would go the user changed from Sam to Alan, right? Sorry, ID of Alan was right in front of me. That's why Alan came to mind there. So yeah, that's what that is. Create pull request. Again, there's a lot of changes there. Unit tests are going to fail because that's something that I need to handle. Foundation, pull requests. Did I push the foundation branch? Push. No, I did not. Yeah, I don't mess around too much with bot stuff. I only did it last week because again, trying to get back into the streaming thing. But there's not a lot of interactivity. There's not a lot of like stuff on my stream other than me. I just don't have the focus to sit down and engage in that stuff because it doesn't grip me quite as much. This is what I love doing. But I do realize in the same that having a bot in there at some point is going to be very important, and doing all those pieces, dealing with the Twitch integration and whatnot is going to be something I should be doing. New pull request, task estimation. This is a very simple one. Create pull request. Again, Mojo and Rambling Geek, just to add. Estimate field included in task integration event. That's a very, very simple PR. And then GitHub.com, TBD develop, Liquid Sky, client NG. There's definitely a downside to doing it this way, right? I have 3 different repos necessary to added estimate, added estimate capture. I don't believe in using, I just don't, I'm not, well, actually, let's try it. Let's try it. Generate summary. Let's see what it tells me. I don't like this because it becomes very wordy, and I kind of like bullet pointed. Here's what I'm looking for. Again, yeah, PRs should carry context with the story they're attached to. Like the developer reviewing the PR should be able to go read an attached story, a task, requirement, etc., and understand what it is they're doing. That should be their focus. Yeah, that's not. Focus on adding and displaying task estimates across various components. Nope. Nope. Estimate field is now captured. It's part of edit form in backlog. It is not. Once captured, it is displayed next to Um, requirement. Requirement. In its card, in the sprint, in the title of the card. Detail. It, and in reality, what we'd be doing here was we'd have mock-ups. We'd have there'd be something to compare the actual result against. I would like to get to the world where we can deploy this to a staging instance that then you can just go and review. That would be awesome. You could say, hey, start up a staging instance of this so that the feature can be tested. And once it's there, linked with the actual PR so that you can actually know that instance is there. And when it gets merged, delete that environment. That would be awesome. It cannot be edited once a once a task is pulled through to a sprint. Let's do that. And again, I'm changing a lot more than I probably wanted. There was probably 2 PRs here overall, one for capturing the task and one for doing that. But that's And then again, I'm only doing these PRs and assigning them to people so they have a chance to at least look through. 73 files. This seems like a lot, but again, this is only 5 hours worth of work. Well, yeah, and this is the cost of having the upgrades in place. Yeah, I suppose there's a risk there that when you're having PRs reviewed, that's dangerous. This is complaining because that field doesn't exist. We do have a build action that should, if this branch exists on, what are you doing? Oh, that 73 files is breaking it. If the branch exists on the foundation library, it should not fail, but it continues to fail. So yet more things to figure out in the deployment piece. Okay. So I think we are good there. This day is the day created, I believe. Let's run it. That will help things. Oh, does anyone have any opinions on this so far? Like, do you like it? Do you dislike it? Is there a challenge? Do you feel that it's heading in a bad direction? How do we feel? Like, I have a vision of the application, right? And I have a lot of notes taken down, but some of it, you just kind of you react to the way it's building, the way that changes are happening. I don't show that date anywhere here. That's interesting. That allows you to reassign it. That allows you to change the text, edit the actual task. It does not allow you to change the estimate, which is intentional. Let's go back here. estimates should be visible. Is you will see the estimation of tasks, the estimated. On tasks to understand the expected effort. Yeah, that should now update that. We should be able to go here, do this. See, it's cached that. It's not. That's an interesting one. Exocomil actually gave me an idea that I need to investigate the concept of. But basically, the idea was, being that I'm pushing changes down to the client anyway, basically make the client a consumer of the RabbitMQ feed, and when things happen, have the UI say, okay, well this thing changed, I need to update my version of it, and do it on the client rather than having the server kind of figure it out and push it down. Partially because the client knows what it's got. The client knows what it's seeing or whatever, and to have context of these things on the server would be costly. So let's say I wanted to update the task that had that requirement on it right now, right? So all these requirements, you see how the title did not change, right? Estimation should be visible, and I call that estimate should be visible, and I changed this text. The reason this is still showing the original version is because I've changed that requirement. It's published up to the server, and it's come back down. Well, it's now available stat in the view, and I can prove that here, right? So one of those planning items should have changed that, right? So no requirement, sorry. Oh, he says it's changed and it hasn't changed. That's interesting. By the way, assuming I'm missing something there. Oh, there we go. We're missing the actual part where we do the thing because I've got a breakpoint in there. Yeah, that should go out eventually. But now all the tasks that refer to that requirement, they also need to change because they're actually holding a cached reference to that value that they loaded when that task was loaded. They're not reloading this. However, if a requirement changes, anything associated with that requirement should be kind of told, oh, by the way, you're now dirty. Next time you go and do something, you need to, I'm not pushing the data down, but I'm pushing the concept that something changed, and all associated data you have should now be marked as dirty or something. So I'm trying to figure out what that pattern looks like. Like, how do I tackle that challenge? Do I do it from, because again, I query, I search, I filter, I load down data. I don't, and it's all for this tenant, but I don't report that to the server. I'm not saying, oh, by the way, I'm looking at this item. Oh, this item's actually in focus right now, because I'm caching a lot of it on the client to make sure that the speed is there and the resilience is there, right? I don't want to keep calling back to the server and making it very noisy from the download. I kind of want to make it so that, it's nice and simple. But how do I do that? That's a technical challenge that I've yet to kind of get my head around, and that might be one I'm picking up soon in terms of once this version is deployed. Oh, there you go. The planning item changed. The requirement changed. Okay, so the requirement changed. That got through. There you go. It did change. Okay, so this is loading I didn't refresh that, so this is definitely loading every time, which is noisy. Yeah, that is. That's making a server call every single time. So that's kind of expensive for the cost, for the benefit of, you know, having this. But yeah. So what comes next? What am I building after this? I think this needs some attention from a project perspective. I think that we might talk about so many things. Status is something that I want to address. Status right now is a hard coded thing. I want that to be configurable per the customer, but this kind of like buckets it lands in. Is this, you know, where should this live? How? And we're getting into those rules at that point. So I, you know, I don't want to start that this second, but I do want to start to prepare for that. Um, so we have planning items, deletion. Duca, hello. How is it going? How are you today? Um, oh, did I Copilot on that one again? Either that or Mojo or someone's. Pretty tired, but good. Okay. I left Copilot on. Here we go. Watch this. So it's probably a good demonstration, right? So I added the reviewers to this PR and I left Copilot on again. For some reason, I managed to remove it from the other PRs. However, I did add it on this one. Yeah. I did this the other day as well. And it complains Angular components typically use the property style URLs instead of style URL. Consider updating this to avoid potential styling issues. Um, it's funny because why? The default component for an Angular component, I created that, I generated that component off of, out of Angular tooling. It did that for me. What is that? Oh, okay. We now got multiple Copilot buttons everywhere. Um, so, um, so I thought, well, hold on, this is Copilot. So can it educate me on something, right? So it actually will change it for you, which is insane. This is not a style I've followed. This is still valid. Style URL is still valid. It will still work. Um, and I kind of think it's a dumb default, a dumb suggestion because in a component, having multiple style sheets seems a little bit overkill. Um, So I'm like, okay, well, it's a conversation. It says conversation. The default templating uses style URL. Why should this become the default? Where is this typically found? Hey, tricky lady, how you doing? So I do this, right? It's not a conversation. This never goes anywhere, as far as I can tell. Or it didn't the other day, right? Because it's meant to be a conversation, right? I'm talking with the AI. Oh, fat and sassy. Good to hear it. You have a question. What is the question? By the way, this isn't a conversation. This is I can add whatever I want here. All this does is trigger this, and then it's up to your teammates. In the UK, do you register your phone number by name? Uh, if you have a landline or something, then you're going to have a name, I suppose, but a mobile phone. Oh, like, okay. Just says UK. No, I think the ID comes from the actual setup of the phone. So if you don't set that up to give it a name, then it won't do that. Um, I think that falls on the people making the call. I think that's a more of a phone standard than a UK standard. But there's no requirement to link your name. I suppose you gotcha. I suppose your carrier, if you're talking like mobile phones, I suppose your carrier um does have your name if you've got a registered number. But if it's a pay as you go phone or something like that, then there's going to be no name attached whatsoever. So okay, no, I'm Duke Soft. Okay, so I'm a little bit stuck on where to go next with this in terms of features. There is, every single feature I add opens up a whole raft of new things, and some of them are bigger, some of them are smaller. Gotcha. Okay, makes sense. Um, Things that come to mind immediately: the concept of teams, so that tasks can be assigned to teams. That is something that I want to focus a little bit of energy on, because I think the ability to see this from this is QA, this is DevOps, etc., is very useful. Talking about sprints, what do sprints look like? Really, is there any sort of, because right now there's no reactivity to the system. Some of the features that I want to introduce, the reactive nature of the system is lacking. Changes is something, again, I want to focus a lot of energy on, because um, I want to demonstrate that original concept of, hey, I care that a task has been assigned to me, or I care that a task has been assigned to a requirement for a planning item that I care about, or it's included in an initiative. Being able to have the system notify you of things that have happened in a variety of ways is kind of one of the things that I really want to have working. That's a lot of work. It's a lot of effort, a lot of moving parts, and a lot of dynamic behavior, which I'm not wholly sure how I want to tackle it yet. Um, better better management of teams would introduce some ability to filter this and manage this a little bit better. because you could basically say for my team, and then have the user assigned to a team. So there's those sorts of concepts. Demo phone number is unlisted, so when I call it, just displays a number, no name, just a number. Yeah, in the US, I have so when a number calls me, if it can identify them, it does. If not, it basically marks them as spam and low risk, high risk, etc. So, but if you call and there's no name attached, then yeah, best leave a voicemail is my general pattern. I do not like answering the phone. So yeah, putting a little bit more effort into Teams would allow this to be cleaner. But for the people testing this, does that add much value, right? Because when I open this for testing to the stream, are you going to get much value from having Teams in place? Unless you actually do want to test this with a group of people, in which case, yeah, you probably would get some value from that. Yeah, I'm a little bit, some of these things. Again, the bigger the project gets, there is way more to do and way more involved components. The status, having that more dynamic, having that per tenant configured is going to be a challenge. Having some impact of the review date now. So in the initial version, again, if you haven't seen this before, the system does have a slight difference in the way it's behaving right a second, right? So this is the original. Here I put past due, current, and upcoming, right, to try and help you indicate, oh, these are the review dates that I've missed, right? But now we don't have that. So is color coding useful? Is this grouping useful? I don't know. Is this way of displaying the planning items useful? I don't know, but I'm thinking that is something I want to put out there in the latest version and have you have the chance to test it and validate it and see if you are comfortable and what things you're missing if you try and use this as an actual tool. So today we added the total estimation on here. So you can add estimates. You can see on something that doesn't have a requirement. Dependency-based planning item. Should see dependencies. And the concept is when I open the planning item, I should see dependent items. Dependent items. Save that. There's our dependencies, right? That's our requirement. We want to add a task. When expanding planning item, details shows list of dependencies. The dependencies should show there's a lot more to go here. There's a lot more information needs to be added. Assign that to Andrew, create that. So that task is created. There we go. That's assigned to Andrew. You see there's no points here at all now. Now I go to tasks, go to that one specifically, click on that, and we mark that as a 2, say. We don't put it in a sprint. Save that. Go back here to planning, go here. Requirements, you see that's saved, but that total hasn't been calculated yet because this task is updated, but the system hasn't registered the fact that this is an actual estimate. Yeah, that's another challenge. And that comes down into the whole, I've got to figure out how do I want to get changes pushed to the client so that real-time updates can happen without making it super chatty and super super annoying. That's got to be a way more flexible component. And again, one of the suggestions was basically subscribe my client to my RabbitMQ stream. And yeah, now the challenge with that is one of tenancy. I do not want to stream every single event of every single system down into every single client. So I've got to filter that RabbitMQ stream down to your tenant. How do I do that? What does that look like? So that's going to be an engineering challenge if I want to do it that way. Because the concept would be, I push down, I mark it as dirty. If you go and look at that thing again, it should reload itself. And kind of avoid, use caching where necessary, but force that download when it's updated. But that's going to be a challenge. So if I refresh the screen now, that total will have been calculated. Now we have 2 and 2. So yeah, that's going to be fun. This will ultimately show more like detail on the actual planning item. I'm kind of relying upon this header row to display a lot of it right this second, but this is the goal. So that you don't end up with this long-winded description that basically is the requirements. The requirements should be explaining what it is for the planning item. So the planning item is a target with requirements. Dependencies here allow estimation of tasks. And that grid bug, we need to fix that grid bug. See that goes down there. Yeah. If I refresh, it'll be back up here, but I don't know why the grid does that. It drives me crazy. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, if you are new to the stream, this is a product that I intend to build, release. Is a project that has been in development for over 18 months, I suppose, at this point. 17, 18 months. If you are interested in asking more questions, if you want to know more about the project, you're more than welcome to join the Discord and have, and I do respond actively in there. We do this stream Tuesdays through Thursdays. And on Mondays and Fridays, we work on a different project called developers.stream. Developers.stream is a project intended to be, that is an open source project. And the intention of that is to help share, help promote developers who stream, regardless of your platform. Yeah. Dukasoft shout out. Yeah. When are you, do you have any planned streams, Duka, coming up? So I do envy the drone stuff. I would love to. My when I went back to the UK a couple of years ago, my brother has a drone, and we went walking on the moors, and he brought the drone up and he took some fantastic footage of us walking around on the moors, etc. Not planned, but I do hope for this month. Nice. Look forward to that. But yeah, okay. It's hard to edit the footage. Are you? You can link your YouTube if you want, Surly. You are VIP, so you have link privilege. Do I think I subscribe to your YouTube. So yeah. There you go. Yep. I did not subscribe to you. I thought I had subscribed to you. Apparently I'm now apparently I'm not signed into YouTube, so fair enough. I'll do that afterwards. The other tab next to that one is uh my stream, so I'm not sure why I'm not signed into YouTube. Nice. Well, check it out. So I know I'm chatting a bit. The development part is thank you for the alert, tricky lady. The development part kind of being finished before the stream end is fun but challenging when I want to proceed. Apex, thank you very much for coming by. Appreciate you. Have a great day at work. Okay. Fair enough. Okay. I am one of the things I'm trying to figure out is as I've been building this for a long time. I want to help people, right? That's my focus. I want to make sure that teams are set up for productivity. I feel that this is heading in the right direction. I have not had any negative feedback, but when it comes time to release this, so the solid intention is for this to go onto that test system in the next 2 weeks, so that if you are interested in using this tool, whether tinkering with it, I'm not saying engaging like, oh, I switched my entire organization over to your tool and it's not working properly, right? But how do I gather feedback? What sort of feedback would you expect to ask? Like, I think I've got to focus the questions. I can't just make it, what do you like? What don't you like? I really want to figure out the art form of gathering appropriate feedback. Like I know that there's going to be like, I don't like the text. I don't like the way it lays out this. I don't like the font. I can't read this, etc. Those are things that can be addressed and added to the list. But in terms of understanding how people are using it, not everyone gets to watch the stream as intently, which means that a lot of this will be, oh, I can sign into this. Now what do I do? Right. So I'm trying to figure out how to gather useful and meaningful feedback, but also ask some questions of people to see if I can understand more about their workflow. Does this fit with most people's workflows? To me, having worked in Sprint and Agile and Scrum and whatever labels we want to put on some of these processes that we continually fail at, this kind of fits the way I think about gathering the work. And yeah. So I got to figure out that. I got to figure out how to gather that feedback properly and ask the right questions rather than just saying, hey, how about it? Because I'll guarantee I will not get any actual uh, feedback. Unless I do, I kind of set it up. Okay. However, I am my brain is whirring, so I do apologize if I'm going quiet and I'm umming and ahhing. I'm now this feature's in there. This was a feature that I really wanted to introduce because I think it starts to open up some of those ideas, and this especially starts to show the difference between Jira and Jira and other tools and what I'm trying to build here, right? I am trying to highlight the fact that the estimation part is on the tasks, not on the requirements, and it starts to show that difference a little bit more solidly. And so I'm quite frankly, really happy that this feature was a relatively simple feature to add as a concept. So, you know, in off-stream time, I will probably focus a little bit on getting those changes built out a little bit so it can be a little bit clearer. Because it would be nice to get to this part where we can say, where does it store the data? Is it hosted on Prem? Right now, yes. Right now, this is all, this looks like, he says with confidence. So this is the diagram, right? This is the diagram that I often show. Right now, all this is just Dockerized. So all these, when I'm doing development, all this is locally, right? I have Redis, SQL Server, Mongo, Kafka, console, all running locally. On the instance on this is all in Kubernetes on a little box sat behind me. Again, all hosted there. So I have on a little Ryzen machine with 32 gig of memory, I have the site, the services, the SQL Server, all those things, all running there, which is fun. So I have a virtualized SQL Server with many databases because, again, the way it's laid out, each service has its own database. Thank you very much for the follow. I appreciate it. Welcome in. Yeah. So there's a lot of moving parts to this application so far. Is it over-engineered? Maybe. I don't feel it is. I feel it tackles the challenges the way that I want to tackle them. I think that had I made this a monolith, this would be pretty tough to play with right this second. You know, we have 92 Visual Studio projects in there, an Angular project, and all the moving parts. So, yes. Actually, I made sure that these can. So, on the Kubernetes version, this is the Kubernetes version running. I have figured out how to at least back up them right this second. This next release is going to be the challenge of what do I do with an in-place database, because I don't want to replace what's there because we're using it to dog food it, right? So these are actual real tasks, real planning items. This is the stuff I've just been working on, right? So this is this. So I've got to figure out how to make sure that this next release goes in place, and so I'm going to have to back up things and do all those sorts of things. There are some challenges when you do distributed system. So if you look at this, a lot of the data doesn't matter in other systems. So planning, this is the source of truth for all planning items, which means that I don't need planning items backed up here technically. I only need data that is relevant to this. And as it turns out, because of the view, nothing is relevant to the view, right? So tasks owns its data, attachments owns this data, notifications. So in this case, restoring the system, as long as these databases are backed up, this is completely unnecessarily, right? There are some pieces that I do intend to have stored elsewhere, which would again be backed up, like configuration and properties and settings and stuff, but the view database could be completely rebuilt. So developing tools, the ETL stuff, like OneLine's been working on with the transforming the incoming file and mapping it to different columns and stuff. There is an ETL tool that I've been building for that, so that it can restore the state of individual pieces. Because again, the data that these require is all, this is a source of truth. So if this gets wiped out, if notifications gets wiped out and it stores a copy of tasks or planning items, we just wipe it out and re-import it from planning. Those are the exercises that I need to go through and kind of practice doing. It does make it a lot harder to manage. As a single developer, I would not recommend this pattern to anybody unless you are fully in on the challenge. Build a monolith, build a single database, keep your code clean, keep your data separation manageable, so you are not adding columns into tables that don't really make sense just to try and make it easier. Build that first. So yeah. And I'm happy if anybody ever wants to go through this in more detail, you want to ask more pertinent questions, the Discord is always there. We're often in the voice chat as well if you're ever interested. And I'm happy to one-on-one go through components of this system to try and help explain the whys and the hows. It's not always easy on stream to show that, but from a learning perspective, I always want to make sure that people know that I'm happy to support that. And again, if it's something that is useful, would be useful YouTube content, individually, like focused on how do I deal with API through to Kafka, etc. If those things are useful, I'm happy to take requests on those, and I will work on producing videos there. But I'm not in the habit of. I've tried, and I think that my YouTube content is best when I'm able to focus on solving a problem that helps someone. So yeah, I'm happy to share this, except the code is not open source. So yeah. Okay, so we're going to call it here. I waffled enough to run myself right past my normal time. Do not forget, with all the shout outs, etc., if you have not checked out OneLine yet, OneLine is another .NET developer, works in Blazor and other technologies, also updates older systems, which are fascinating to watch. And it's just a great stream to be in. So with a lot of great people. So I highly recommend checking out OneLine, especially if you like .NET content. Tomorrow we will resume our efforts on developers.stream. We actually got the Twitch registration working at the end of Monday's stream, right? So we had it so that you say link my Twitch account, and now it links your Twitch account. So we just need to kind of get those pieces updated so that now we hide the link button. With that in place, you're now a verified Twitch user. So we'll move forward with getting those cards displaying linked accounts, etc. Get the details showing, and try and get that card concept in there, and then yeah, I think we'll plan on that for now. That might be enough. But yeah, so we're gonna go raid one of my favorite streamers to raid. You know, I'm always open to, if you have other .NET developers, like application developers that are streaming, I'm always happy to to raid someone new. It's why I like raiding Maybe as well, because he's doing app development. A lot of game developers on Twitch, especially in my feed. But I have not. I don't like raiding channels that I've not actually checked out, because that's dangerous for me. But for right now, we'll raid 4 bots. I'll return tomorrow with developers.stream. Again, if you're interested in asking more questions, if you want to know more about what we do, the Discord is linked in the cards below. And yeah, have a great rest of your day. Take care. Thank you very much for joining me. I appreciate you all. And I'll see you soon. Take care all. Bye.